everybody always says that documentaries are made in the editing room. So, I mean, how much when you started looking at the footage, even knowing, okay, this is the protagonist, I would imagine there was an enormous amount of stuff and directions you could have gone in. What was that process like?
Yeah, there was really, really many hours of footage. There was about 500 hours that I was, what I have in my computer. And I guess it was another 500 that you already had dismissed from the
Yeah, I
project.
could just add, we kept filming. We followed Amani on her way all the way into Turkey and her new life in Turkey. We ended the film where we ended the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, we filmed a lot.
But when I came on board and started up editing, Firas and me and the other editor, Dennis Gulbertelsen, we had some talks about what the vision for Firas was in this project. And from the beginning, it was very, very clear that he wanted to do this feministic way of looking at the war situation by Dr. Amani's eye and with her powerful way of dealing with it, the courage that they show here in the film. If I can add a story to that, we started up selecting around 20 scenes that Firas thought could go into the finished film. And then we started working on those scenes, and quite fast we realized that they were really good. And we used them as a backbone for the rest of the editing process. Yeah.
Right.
And of course, as you can imagine, as an editor, watching all this material was very disturbing and partly traumatizing, right?
Yeah. As you saw in the film, there was this chemical attack where there was a lot of children coming in injured and suffocating. I did that over 3 weeks. I worked on that sequence about the chemical attack. And some days I could only work 1 hour, and then I had to go home crying because it was so horrifying to do it. But, you know, I still think it's a little price to pay according to what the Syrian people are experiencing in this film here. So, of course, I had to get through the film and edit the film with Firas and the other editor. So Danish Documentary brought in a psychiatrist from the National Hospital and made some debriefing sessions where we were sitting together and talked out about our experience, our dreams, and the nightmares we had of doing what we did. I think that was really, really important for us to come out of the project afterwards.
Yeah, and he was also, he worked with a lot of journalists who came from the tsunami in Thailand, who worked with journalists that has been in war zones, and he could teach us some tools how to deal with this and deal with this as a team. And looking back at this, we have never done it before, but I will never do a film like this without getting the therapy session. It's crucial to I mean, even do a good job. I mean, you could easily lose yourself in this.
Mm-hmm. Right. So did it have a similar emotional impact on you when you saw the footage coming in?
Yeah, but in a different way, because I wasn't like Per and Dennis was watching it every day. But in the whole, like, I met Amani first time in August 2018 for the first time. And I wasn't sure if I would ever meet them, any of them. So of course that to keep yourself focused on the work and not be scared, and that's very difficult. Of course it was, I was worried a lot, like.
I would think that when you're in the editing room with this also, I mean, so much of the footage was shot in very tight quarters with lots of people who are not arranging themselves for the camera. I mean, there must have been times when it was like, you know, there's no coverage that you can pull out. I mean, you have to deal with what you've got, but I would think it would be difficult to get the shots that tell the story since it was done in such difficult circumstances.
Yeah, that's right. It was really tough sometimes to edit the scenes because the footage was not so fantastic, but other times it was really beautiful. You know, as the opening shot in the film, it's devastating, beautiful, and there was 3 DPs working on the project, and Firas found them because they were really reportage photographer, still photographer, and Firas taught them over the internet, over Skype, how to shoot a film. And there's a little funny story about that, and that is when they start shooting on Dr. Amani, they because of the male-dominated society, they couldn't focus on it. They was always switching to the male in the room. So Firas had to talk very much with them about how to keep on her, stay on her. I'm only interested in Dr. Amani, the female perspective.
I mean, I would imagine she probably wasn't completely comfortable with being that focus as well.
She, as I said, she at one point realized that maybe this is what I have to do. But she had 2 rules. One was you can never interfere in my work, and you cannot touch the victims, because you don't know what kind of weapon has been used on the victim. So those 2 rules were her. What she said that you can film, yeah. But she was worried that she couldn't do her job.
Yeah, right. So when you were filming it, I mean, at that point she was still there. You didn't know that she was going to end up having to leave Syria or any of that.
What you see in the film, I mean, we produced the film while we were shooting. So it wasn't, Firas came with a lot of archives. He started the research way before I came on board, or we came on board. But the actual shooting, most of it was while we were working on the film. So I didn't know, as I said, I didn't know if I would ever meet Amani. In the treatment, we wrote that she would survive. And she did, but we couldn't know.
Mm-hmm. Right. When you're dealing with something like this, how do you know it's like, okay, here's where our story ends? Because clearly the stories of all the people in this film do not end at one specific point.
Can I take that? Yeah, because the chemical attack you saw, and the way out of Syria, that was really one of the first big sequences that Firas and I did together. So we were quite sure quite early in the editing that we had the film, Act 3 in the film. We knew where to end the story about this erotic female and doctors.
Yeah, right. So what were the biggest challenges for you as you were putting it together? I mean, were there specific things that were really hard to sort of to get right?
Yeah, if I can take it, sorry. Yeah, we knew it was a very, very tough film to watch. So we was very much aware of that we should have sequences, scenes where there was joy and happiness, like the birthday party, and this nurse Samaha that was doing all the food for them in the hospital and so on. We have to have that moments in the film so we could, make the balance and make the audience breathe in between before it starts up again, hell on earth.
And I will say a hard thing for me as a producer is that you want to when the film is finished, you want your team with you, the photographers, some like Amani and Dr. Salim. We do them when we do the film. We invite our subjects and we invite the team, and that we couldn't do because of immigration policies. That personally for me has been very hard. And not bringing them with us until now. And today, Amani just arrived in New York. Yeah. And the rest of the team will come also. We're waiting. Some of them are in Turkey, and the Turkish, even if you get a visa, the Turkish need to give you a permission to travel, and then they need to give you a permission to travel back. It's very, very complicated. Mm-hmm. But I'm hoping end of the week we will see the full team for the first time
At the Oscars?
at the Oscars.